We're going to talk about exercising will, or the art of initiating action. Sometimes we just don't feel like doing anything at all. All motivation is gone. Even when we know all the reasons we want or need to do a thing, we just can't get ourselves to do the thing. This module won't give you any quick tricks, but hopefully it will help you stop wasting so much energy in this fruitless battle that we frequently get stuck in. So first, what is it exactly I mean by exercising will? Well, one way to think about it is making effort, taking action even when nothing on the inside lines up, when you just don't feel like it or when you're not motivated. So will is that thing that gets you going. It's that thing you rely on when you can't rely on your internal world. You can't rely on the thoughts and feelings that you would rather have be present when it's time to take action. And I want to differentiate this from willpower, which is what people commonly refer to as exercising restraint or controlling your actions and behaviors. This is different. This is more about the act of putting energy into behaviors, of getting started, of getting things done. So let's immediately make this more concrete. Take a few seconds right now and think about what you need to get done. What is it that you need to do? What's on your mental to-do list? It shouldn't be very hard to come up with. It can be anything, big, small. It can be something you need to do this year or something you need to do in the next half an hour. And then pick one of those things that you thought about. Maybe it's to complete a job application, or maybe it's to finish a paper that you're working on for school, or study for a test, or do laundry. It doesn't matter. Pick one of those things, and let's do this little mental exercise for a minute. When it's time for you to do that thing, what thoughts and feelings would ideally be present in that moment? What thoughts and feelings would help you to get that thing done? For most of us, when it comes time to get a thing done, what we'd like to be feeling in those moments are things like interest, desire, focus, confidence that we can do it, motivation, a sense of control over how it will go, a sense of optimistic hope over how it will turn out, and maybe even a little enjoyment or satisfaction about doing that thing. So what happens when none of those thoughts and feelings are available to you? What happens when it's time to do a thing and there's no interest, no motivation, no desire, no trust, no confidence? When none of those are available to you in that moment, internally, how are you expected to be able to act? How are you expected to be able to do anything? And if you find yourself nodding in agreement at this point with that rhetorical question, I want to suggest that you may have fallen into a very normal but very flawed assumption about the relationship between what we feel and getting things done. So hold on a sec, Dallas. You're saying those feelings don't matter at all when it comes time to do something I need to do? Well, no, they can definitely be helpful. It's definitely harder to take action when none of the right thoughts and feelings are present, and it's more enjoyable and satisfying when they are present. A lot of us, me included, get caught in thinking we have to think and feel X before we can do Y, that it's a one-way linear relationship, and that without any X, there's no Y happening. And this makes us focus all our energy on whether or not X is present, whether or not the right feelings are there. But it doesn't work that way. We can do action Y without feeling X first. And by the way, trying to make those feelings show up, trying to force those thoughts, that actually paradoxically takes away a lot of the energy we could have already been spending doing the thing. It might even be taking up energy that we have in very limited quantities in that moment, sort of fighting this battle with ourselves instead of putting that energy into doing what needs to be done. So it's this paradox where we go all over the place looking for desire, looking for interest, looking for confidence, looking for motivation, and that then takes up more energy. And sometimes this does help a little bit. Maybe we can remind ourselves why something is important, and that adds a little motivation into the equation. But often it's this fruitless struggle where we're trying to make ourselves feel like doing something first and then get moving. In the meantime, we could have been moving anyway. That's exercising will. So often when we say, I can't get myself to do something, what we really mean is, I can't get myself to feel like doing something. And no judgment here. I want to be careful about this. We all do this as human beings, myself included. There's no shaming here. But interestingly, somewhere along the way, we all bought into this flawed idea that we have to feel a certain way before we can do things. Exercising will is the expenditure of energy, of taking action in the direction of things that need to be done, actual steps. Motivation, on the other hand, that's an internal set of feelings. In fact, let's talk a little bit more about motivation for a minute. There's a cluster of neurons in our brains that seems to play an important role in motivation. This is located in the ventral tegmental area, which is right in the middle of the brain. And what we know, interestingly enough, from fMRI research is that we can't simply just make this part of our brain turn on. We can't just say, get motivated brain, and have that region of our brain light up. There's no quick trick to making our brains work in that way, although if you pay attention to yourself and people around you, you'll find that we consume ourselves constantly with efforts to do just that. We're always trying to find the way to trick ourselves into feeling motivated, to find the desire or interest to do something, to find that burst of energy or that narrowing of focus, that perfect motivational quote, etc., etc. People are always trying to find ways to trick themselves into being motivated. And there's nothing wrong with motivation. When you are motivated, it's great. It makes you work more effectively. It gives you the energy to do those things. There's nothing wrong with motivation, but it's a limited resource. It dissipates quickly. It sometimes doesn't show up when we need it, or it shows up way before we need it, and then when we get to the thing, it's completely gone. And this should be apparent to all of us. How many times before a thing have you felt really motivated to do it? You've thought a lot about how it's going to go. There's a lot of interest, sort of mental energy for that thing, and then you get to that moment and it's gone. And you're just like, ugh, I know I was motivated once to do this. Where has that motivation gone now? So exercising will and motivation are different. Will is that thing we can try to tap into a little bit more here and there, precisely when motivation is unavailable. And exercising will isn't a trick to produce motivation, it is actual energy directed at taking action.